My name is Ben Chung, and this is a tech chess play guide video, which will go over how to set up and play tech chess. Setting up the game. First, you're going to randomly determine a first player. That first player controls the service and science cards in play. While setting up, give the first player all the service and science cards so that the cards representing chess pieces can be pulled out from the deck and the initial board setup completed. The second player uses the technology and knowledge cards in play. And likewise, while setting up, give that second player all the technology and knowledge cards so that they can find the pieces they need to pull out and set up the initial board. Next, remove the wild cards from the deck. Then player one is going to set up the board on their side like what's seen. So the game starts with these pieces in this numerical arrangement. So in the first rank will be 1, 13, 11, 12, 13, and 1. In their second rank, a 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, and 2. The player may also choose to either play with their 11 of science or their 11 of service, and may choose to play with either their 12 of science or their 12 of service. The order of the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 13 cards can be chosen for each pair. So for example, in the first row, first position, we see a 1 of science, but player 1 could also choose instead to play the 1 of service in that first position and then put the 1 of science in the 6th position on the first rank instead. Likewise, the second player is going to set up their board in this numerical arrangement. Notice they have the technology and knowledge cards, and they can also make a choice of whether they would like to play with the 12 of knowledge or the 12 of technology, or the 11 of technology or the 11 of knowledge. After you've done that, the board will look like this. The game is played on a 6x6 board, and there's 2 empty rows between the 2 players. You can either use the printed board from the rulebook or use face-down playing cards for empty positions for the middle of the board. And notice also that the position of the 11 and 12 are opposite that of the first player for the second player. Finally, you set the remaining cards aside to form a draw deck and discard pile next to it. Gameplay. On a player's turn, a player may perform one of the following actions. They can move a piece. A player may move one of their pieces. If he captures an opposing piece, he may use the card ability on the piece or card that made the capture. Put the captured piece into the discard pile. If you capture a king, expel it from the game. Use a card effect. A player can use a card ability from a card in their hand. To use a card ability, a player reveals the card and resolves the game effect on it. Discard that card after use. Upgrade a piece. Twice per game, a player may upgrade one of their 2, 3, or 4 value figures or cards on the board with any non-13 value card from his hand, matching his domains by exchanging those cards. You track that with tokens or chips. You can build a piece 3 times per game. A player may build a pawn of value 2 through 10 on their first or second row with one of their domains from their hand onto the board. And winning the game. If a player has captured both kings of his opponent, he wins the game. If he has only one king left and no other pieces, the game ends in a draw. Stalemate occurs when a player cannot make a legal move. Next, we go to an overview of how to move the pieces. If you're already familiar with chess, many of the pieces in tech chess move like chess, except for the pawn and the king. The pawn moves with a little bit more freedom. It can move forward, diagonally, or laterally one space, and value 2 through 4 pawns are upgradable. Rooks move vertically or horizontally any number of spaces. Knights move just like knights in chess. Queens do also. Kings move vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, 1 or 2 spaces. We see here how to move a pawn. The value 2 through 10 cards are pawns, and they move and capture laterally, left or right, or one space forward, including diagonally. They cannot move backwards, though. The value 1 cards are rooks. They move and capture like rooks in chess. They can move orthogonally, horizontally, or vertically, any number of positions. The value 11 cards are knights. So you can remember them that jumping jacks leap like knights. They move 2 squares vertically and 1 square horizontally, or 2 squares horizontally and 1 square vertically, both forming the shape of an L. They can jump over other pieces. The queen, the value 12 cards, move and capture like queens in chess. They can move orthogonally or diagonally any number of positions or spaces. The king, the value 13 cards, move 1 or 2 spaces orthogonally, horizontally or vertically, or diagonally, but they cannot pass through other figures. Capturing a piece. If you move your piece into the same position or space as an opposing piece, you capture it, just like in chess. Remove the captured piece from the board and place it into the discard pile. If you capture one of the 2 kings, expel it instead, and you may use the card ability on the card of your capturing piece. So for example, we see here, player 2's rook, the one of technology, the Internet of Things, captures one of player 1's kings, the 13 of science or artificial intelligence. And because it's a king, it gets expelled from the game. If it were not a king, you would discard the card into player 1's discard pile. And after you make they make a capture, the um, player may choose to link the card effect on the Internet of Things. Upgrading pieces. One of the things you can do is on your turn is to upgrade a piece. Twice per game, a player may use his turn to upgrade one of their 2, 3, or 4 value cards on the board with any non-13 value card from their hand. You cannot upgrade a piece to a king. A player may track the number of times they've done this by counters, tokens, or poker chips. We see here on the left a palette of the cards that can be upgraded. Those are called the upgradable pawns. And you'll see when the game starts that each player starts with all upgradable pawns. A player can only upgrade a pawn on the board matching the domains they control. Player 1 controls the service and science domains. Player 2 controls the knowledge and technology domains. We see here an example of upgrading pieces. We see in the player's hand a 12 of technology, a 7 of knowledge, and 11 of science. Player 1 can upgrade any of their 2, 3, or 4 value cards with a card from his hand and in his domains of service and science. He may not use the 7 of knowledge nor the 12 of technology because those are domains controlled by player number 2. He has the 3 of science, the 2 of service, the 4 of science, and the 3 of service in play. And he chooses to upgrade his 3 of service with the 11 of science in his hand, exchanging those 2 cards. Building pieces. On a turn, a player may also choose to build a piece 3 times per game. A player on their entire turn, can build upon a value 2 through 10 onto their first or second row of their domains from their hand onto the board. Player 2 here controls the technology and knowledge cards, and she chooses to build the 9 of technology, wireless systems, onto the second rank, rightmost position into the board. Winning. Winning the game. If a player has captured both kings, 13 value cards, of his opponent, he wins the game. If each player only has 1 king left and no other pieces, the game ends in a draw. Check. When a king comes under fire, the attacker announces check. If the other player still has 2 kings in the game, they're not obligated to move their checked king on their next turn. However, if they only have 1 king left, they are. If you still have 2 kings, it's also legal to move one of your 2 kings, into a position where it might be captured. Stalemate. If a player has only 1 king left and their king is not under attack but is unable to move, it is a stalemate. Variants. A popular variant of chess is called bughouse chess, and it's played on 2 chessboards by 4 players in teams of 2. Each team member faces one opponent of the other team. Partners sit next to each other, and one player per team has black pieces, while the other player has white pieces. Each player plays their opponent in a standard game of chess. A player capturing a piece immediately passes that piece to their partner. The partner keeps these pieces in reserve and may, instead of playing a regular move, place one of these pieces on the board, called dropping the piece. The match ends when the game on either board ends. A game is won when one player gets checkmated, resigns, or runs out of time. The tech chess variant of Bughouse chess is pretty similar. It uses the Bughouse concept of 4 players with teams of 2 with switched boards where captured pieces are given to your partner, and additionally it uses the tech chess rules that we've just went over as well. Be sure to check out the other tech deck family of games. Tech Grid Poker is 2-dimensional poker with card abilities. Tech City, City of Cards, is a semi-cooperative card tile-laying city building game. And Tech Exchange, a real-time card stock exchanging game. So that's it. Thank you for watching the play guide of Tech Chess, which has gone over how to play and set up Tech Chess. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out the introduction video to Tech Chess.